Hello and welcome to Passivhaus for Everyone. This is Adam Cohen and this is a tutorial for how I've set this project up to be reviewed by folks. So the idea is that if you have experience with Passivhaus, you can just dive in and take what you need out of these videos. If you don't and you're starting from the scratch, then I've set this up to kind of guide you through depending on how deep you want to go. So we start out with a very simple stuff and work our way to more complex. So when you log in, you'll get onto the home screen, and on that home screen, you'll see there's a list there, and I want you to click on playlists. And when you go to playlists, you'll see that there's a bunch of different playlists. That's how I've organized these videos. Now, please keep in mind that this is being recorded in May of 2017, and we're about halfway done with the project. I am creating these videos and publishing them one per week. We've got about 6 months worth of videos up. I've got about another 6 months of videos coming. There should be about 70 total when it's all said and done. So go ahead and enjoy these, share them, and please subscribe so that you're able to get all the new videos as they come out. These playlists are where this organization happens. So first thing, go to introductions, look at welcome to my YouTube channel. Then we want to go to the playlist Passivhaus Basics, and in there are two basic version ones, and these were both the same recording, but were done by our two different illustrators. We have one illustrator from Macedonia, Vlado Adkovsky, and one from Indonesia, Alendi Senda, and they both did the initial video. Okay, from there, if you are interested, we go to a little bit of background and history on Passivhaus, or if you'd like, you just can move straight to Fabric Verse Approach. From there, you want to move on to Everybody Limbo. That playlist only has 2 videos, but they're pretty important. So it's to understand the metrics of Passivhaus. That's the simple introductory. You get this basic stuff and you understand a little bit about Passivhaus. You're on level 1, you're ready to go to level 2. On level 2, we start out with a little bit of story of my personal journey of how I got to where I am with Passivhaus. And then we talk about some philosophy. When we do this, we're starting to talk about what we're doing in the industry as a whole and what we're not doing and why it's important that Passivhaus be adopted by our industry. And then for those of you who are lead proponents, we talk about Passivhaus and lead. So then once you've completed level 2, you can go on. On level 3, we start diving into basic physics, and I do a basic physics dive first, and then onto 2 tracks, hydrothermal and building assembly layers, and we just kind of go 1 through 4 there on those videos. We could return to Passivhaus Basics and talk about modeling and understanding what the energy model does and how it does it. And lastly, in level 3, we talk about commercial Passivhaus and why commercial Passivhaus makes so much sense, and also what's holding us back. From there, you want to move on to level 4. On level 4, we return to philosophy, and we really deal with the mental obstacles that are holding us back, which are really the greatest obstacles in the industry. And lastly, the question for you personally, are you too busy to improve? From there, we move to the Passivhaus HVAC, and in this playlist, we start to examine the heat recovery and energy recovery ventilators, what they are and how they work, and then why shading is an important part of the Passivhaus heating, ventilation, air conditioning strategy, what a balance point is, understanding what the thermal comfort zone is. Then I return to basic physics, and we talk a little more in depth about thermal bridging and mold, hydrothermal simulations, and understanding how Passivhaus works using synergy and leverage within the building physics analysis. Once you finish level 4, it's ready to move to level 5. On level 5, we finish up our Passivhaus Basics by talking about ways to deliver Passivhaus projects and why this is different from standard delivery, and what tools we can use for delivery of Passivhaus. We return to Passivhaus HVAC list, and there I talk about what happens if you just build a Passivhaus and stick it on a hill with no people. What happens to it then? And then from there, we get into some more nuts and bolts of understanding sensible and latent loads, understanding sensible heat ratio, and why it's important. These are kind of deep dives into HVAC, but it's an important part for Passivhaus practitioners. Lastly, on level 5, I talk about the standards, and this is a 10-part series that really talks about why we have standards, what they are, what our different limbo sticks are, what are the differences between the 2 standards, and ends up with a summary of the entire thing. And then from level 5, we move on to one last final passive philosophy, which is a short message from Dr. Feiss, and then a little explanation of who I am and how I got to where I am, how I discovered Passivhaus, etc. Okay, well that's it. I hope you enjoy the series, and please come back for more. Remember to subscribe. Thanks. Bye-bye.